If you've ever opened a can of condensed milk and wondered how something so thick, sweet, and creamy could come from regular old milk, you're not alone. Condensed milk is one of those kitchen staples that seems almost magical, turning up in everything from rich desserts to your morning coffee. But behind that familiar can is a surprisingly complex journey, full of high-tech machines, careful quality checks, and a bit of food science that's been perfected over generations. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the industrial process that transforms fresh milk into the condensed milk you know and love. We'll follow the milk from the farm, through the factory, and all the way to the can on your supermarket shelf. And along the way, you'll see just how much work goes into making sure every drop is safe, delicious, and ready for your next recipe. Let's start at the very beginning, the dairy farm. Picture the early morning light, the sound of cows shuffling in their stalls, and the hum of machinery kicking into gear. Modern dairy farms are a far cry from the old days of hand-milking a few cows in a wooden barn. These days, it's all about efficiency, animal welfare, and keeping things as clean as possible. Most large-scale farms use automated milking systems. Think of them as high-tech car washes for cows. The cows step onto a rotating platform and the machines do the rest, gently attaching to each cow and collecting the milk with minimal stress. The whole process is designed to be quick, comfortable, and above all, hygienic. Once the milk is collected, it's immediately cooled to just above freezing, usually between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius. This is crucial because milk is a perfect breeding ground for bacteria if it's left warm for too long. The cold milk is stored in massive stainless steel tanks, and before it ever leaves the farm, it's tested for quality. Workers check for things like acidity, smell, and even traces of antibiotics, which can't be present in milk that's headed for human consumption. If the milk passes these tests, it's pumped into insulated tanker trucks, basically giant mobile refrigerators, and sent off to the factory. Now here's where things start to get really interesting. At the factory, the milk goes through a whole new round of testing. This isn't just about making sure it tastes good. It's about safety. Technicians check for any sign of contamination, from unwanted chemicals to harmful bacteria. Only when the milk gets the all clear does it move on to the next stage. And in some of the biggest factories, we're talking about tens of thousands of liters of milk arriving every single day, enough to fill swimming pools. The first step in the factory is filtration. The milk is pumped through fine filters to remove any remaining impurities. Then it's time to standardize the fat content. Not all milk is created equal. Some cows produce milk that's richer or leaner than others. For condensed milk, the fat content needs to be just right, usually between 6 and 10%. To achieve this, the milk is spun in a centrifuge which separates the cream from the skim milk. By blending these two components in precise ratios, the factory can hit the exact fat content needed for the final product. Next up is pasteurization. This is a word you've probably seen on milk cartons, but what does it actually mean? Pasteurization is all about safety. The milk is heated to around 72 to 75 degrees Celsius for about 15 seconds, then rapidly cooled. This kills off any harmful bacteria without affecting the taste or nutritional value. It's a process that's been around since the 19th century, and it's one of the main reasons milk and milk products are so much safer today than they were in the past. With the milk now pasteurized and standardized, it's time for the real magic, turning it into condensed milk. This is where sugar comes in, a lot of sugar. For every 100 liters of milk, about 45 kilograms of sugar are added. That's what gives condensed milk its signature sweetness and thick texture. But sugar isn't just there for flavor. It also acts as a preservative, making it possible to store condensed milk for months without refrigeration. The sweetened milk is then sent to a vacuum evaporator. This is a massive piece of equipment that looks a bit like a spaceship, and it's where most of the water in the milk is removed. By lowering the pressure inside the evaporator, the boiling point of water drops so the milk can be concentrated at a much lower temperature. This helps preserve the flavor and nutrients, while also giving condensed milk its dense, creamy consistency. About 60 to 70% of the water is removed during this step, leaving behind a thick, syrupy liquid. But we're not done yet. The condensed milk is cooled down to around 30 degrees Celsius, and then it goes through a process called crystallization. This is a bit of food science that makes a big difference in the final product. By carefully controlling the temperature and stirring the mixture, tiny sugar crystals form, giving the condensed milk a smooth, uniform texture. If this step is rushed or skipped, you can end up with gritty or lumpy condensed milk, not exactly what you want in your dessert. At this point, the condensed milk is almost ready for packaging. But before it can be canned, it has to pass one more round of quality checks. Samples are taken to the lab where technicians test for everything from texture and color to sweetness and shelf life. Only the batches that meet strict standards move on to the final stage, packaging. But let's not forget, condensed milk isn't just about the machines or the science. It's about the memories and moments it helps create. For a lot of people, that first taste of condensed milk is tied to childhood, licking the spoon after making fudge, drizzling it over fruit, or sneaking a spoonful straight from the can when no one's looking. It's a comfort food, a treat, and sometimes even a little bit of nostalgia in a can. And while the process is industrial, the result is deeply personal. Every country, every family seems to have its own way of using condensed milk. In some places, it's a shortcut for busy cooks. In others, it's the secret to a recipe passed down through generations. There's something universal about it, but also something uniquely local. That's part of what makes condensed milk so fascinating. It's both everywhere and special at the same time. If you look at the numbers, the scale is almost hard to believe. Factories can produce tens of thousands of cans every day, and global demand just keeps growing. In Brazil, for example, condensed milk is in nearly every home, and the country produces hundreds of thousands of tons each year. In Asia, it's a key ingredient in milk tea and coffee shops. Even in places where fresh milk is hard to come by, condensed milk is a reliable, affordable way to add richness and sweetness to food and drink. But with all this popularity comes responsibility. Modern manufacturers are under pressure to keep improving, making the process more efficient, reducing waste, and finding ways to use less energy and water. Some companies are experimenting with new packaging, like squeezable tubes or recyclable cartons, to cut down on metal waste. Others are looking at ways to source milk more sustainably, supporting local farmers and animal welfare. It's a reminder that even a product as familiar as condensed milk is still evolving, shaped by changing tastes and new challenges. There's also a growing interest in alternatives. As more people look for plant-based or lactose-free options, some companies are developing condensed milks made from soy, coconut, or oats. These products use similar processes: evaporation, sugar, careful packaging, but with different base ingredients. They're not exactly the same as traditional condensed milk, but they open up new possibilities for people with dietary restrictions or different preferences. It's another example of how food traditions adapt and change over time. Still, for most people, nothing beats the classic. There's a reason condensed milk has stuck around for more than a century. It's versatile, affordable, and almost endlessly useful. You can turn it into caramel with a little heat, whip it into frosting, or just pour it over pancakes. It's the backbone of recipes from every corner of the globe, and it's likely to stay that way for a long time, so the next time you see a can of condensed milk on the shelf, you'll know there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Behind that simple label is a story of invention, adaptation, and a whole lot of hard work, from the farmers who care for the cows, to the engineers who design the machines, to the workers who keep the lines running day and night. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary foods have extraordinary stories. And maybe that's the real magic of condensed milk. It's not just about what it is, but what it represents. A blend of old and new, of science and tradition, of global reach and personal connection. Whether you're making a dessert for a special occasion or just sweetening your morning coffee, you're part of a tradition that spans continents and generations. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of condensed milk, don't forget to let us know how you use it in your kitchen. Maybe you have a family recipe, a favorite dessert, or a creative twist you'd like to share. Drop a comment below. We love hearing your stories and seeing how this humble ingredient brings people together. And if you're curious about other foods and how they're made, stick around. There's a whole world of amazing machines and fascinating processes out there, turning simple ingredients into the products we use every day. From chocolate to cheese, from bread to beverages, every food has a story, and we're here to tell it. Thanks for joining us on this journey from farm to factory to table. If you found this video interesting, give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes looks at the foods you love. And next time you open a can of condensed milk, take a second to appreciate everything that went into making it. Not just the machines and the science, but the people, the history, and the little moments of joy it brings. Until next time. Keep exploring, keep tasting, and keep asking questions. Because the more you know about your food, the more you can enjoy every bite.